Sam stood in front of his small house, his hands resting on the edge of a moving box. The sun was warm on his face, and the truck parked on the street was loaded with his life in boxes. For years, he had dreamed of living somewhere quieter, away from the strict rules of his neighborhood and the endless watchful eyes of the HOA today. That dream was finally coming true. He looked at the driveway one last time. His car was already packed, his garage empty, and the boxes stacked neatly on the moving truck. The neighborhood had always been full of noise, rules, and small arguments. Every time a neighbor saw him do something slightly different, they complained. Sam had learned to ignore most of it, but one person had made his life especially difficult. Her name was Karen. Karen had a reputation for being strict and controlling. She was the head of the HOA and treated her position like it gave her power over everyone. She walked with a stiff posture, a clipboard in her hand, and a look that made it clear she was always judging. She had walked the streets every morning for years, inspecting fences, mailboxes, cars, and lawns. Even small mistakes could lead to complaints or fines if she saw them. Today, Karen had spotted Sam in his moving truck. Her eyes narrowed as she marched down the sidewalk. Her heels clicked against the pavement, announcing her approach. She was already ready to confront him. Sam took a deep breath and tried to stay calm. He knew exactly what was coming, but he was ready for it. He had packed the last of his boxes, tied them down, and was prepared to start the truck. Karen reached the end of the driveway and stopped abruptly. She pointed her finger at him and said sharply, "Sam, what is going on here? You cannot just move without approval." Sam blinked in surprise at her tone. "Karen, I already sold the house. I have paid all the fees. I do not need approval to move out." Karen's eyes widened, but she did not step back. "That is not how it works here. I have not signed off on any paperwork. You are trying to leave without following the rules. I will not allow it." Sam smiled faintly. "Karen, I have followed every rule. I even paid the final HOA fees. I am only taking my belongings. I am not breaking any laws." Karen's face grew red with frustration. She took a step closer to him and waved her clipboard. "You think rules do not matter. You cannot just leave. You must wait for my approval." Sam folded his arms calmly. "I have waited long enough. Today I am leaving." Karen's lips pressed together as she straightened her back. "Then I will call the police. You cannot escape your responsibilities." Sam almost laughed, but he kept his calm expression. "You are calling the police because I am moving out of my own house." Karen ignored him and pulled out her phone. "Yes, I am. This is serious. He is breaking HOA rules and refusing to comply. They must come immediately." Sam shrugged as he picked up a box and carried it to the truck. Karen continued to speak loudly into her phone, explaining her side of the story to anyone who would listen. She tried to make it sound like Sam was dangerous and needed to be stopped immediately. "He is acting wild. He is not following our rules. He is a threat to the neighborhood," she said. Sam quietly sent a message on his phone and then slid it into his pocket. He did not need to panic. He had planned for this. A few minutes later, a patrol car arrived at the street. Karen's face lit up with triumph. She looked like she had already won. The officer stepped out and started walking toward them. Karen's smile froze. It was Luke, Sam's son, a respected officer from the sheriff's department. He walked with authority, calm and professional. Karen's eyes widened as she recognized him. "Why is your son here?" Karen red. Luke looked at his father and nodded. "Are you okay, Dad?" Karen did not wait. "Officer, arrest him. He is breaking community rules. He is dangerous. You must take action immediately." Luke raised his eyebrows and remained calm. "Ma'am, HOA rules are not criminal laws. You cannot call emergency services for something like this." Karen's face turned red with frustration. "I am the HOA president. I demand action. This man is resisting authority. He must be stopped." Luke turned to Sam and asked, "What happened here?" Sam explained the situation simply. He told Luke about the moving sale, the paid fees, and Karen's complaint. He remained calm and polite the entire time. Then Luke turned to Karen. "Ma'am, did you report that he was dangerous?" "Yes," Karen said proudly, "because he refused to obey me." Luke shook his head slowly. "So you lied to emergency services. You reported a false emergency." Karen froze, but she tried to defend herself. "I did what I had to do. As HOA president, I must keep control." Luke's voice was calm but firm. "Ma'am, calling emergency services without a real emergency is against the law. This is serious." Karen began, shaking her head. "No, this cannot be happening. I just wanted him to follow the rules. I did not expect this." Luke's eyes stayed on her. "Ma'am, HOA rules are for the neighborhood, not for law enforcement. They do not give you the right to call the police for personal disagreements." Karen looked around nervously, realizing that all her confidence had vanished. Sam stood quietly by the truck, boxes stacked neatly, watching calmly. He had not said much, but he felt relief knowing that his son was there to handle the situation. Karen's frustration turned into panic. Her plan to make Sam feel guilty and powerless had failed. She had expected him to argue, yell, or maybe even call his own family for help. Instead, he had stayed calm, and now her lies were exposed. Luke spoke clearly. "You are going to face consequences for making a false report. You cannot threaten someone or call law enforcement for something that is not an emergency. Karen looked down at the ground, defeated. She could not believe what was happening. She had tried to control the situation, but now she was powerless. Sam's calmness and his son's presence had turned everything in his favor. Sam finally lifted a box into the truck. He looked at Karen one last time. I am leaving now. I hope you can understand the difference between rules and real life. Karen stayed silent. She knew she had lost. For once, she could not control anyone or force her opinion on the situation. Sam climbed into the truck and started the engine. The sound of the vehicle was loud in the quiet street. Karen stepped back, watching helplessly as Sam slowly began to drive out of the neighborhood. Luke walked beside his father and gave him a reassuring pat on the shoulder. You are free to go, Dad. Nothing they can do will stop you now. Sam smiled. Thank you, Luke. I knew you would handle it with fairness. Karen finally left, muttering under her breath. She had lost the battle. Her power over the neighborhood had limits, and she had reached them today. The moving truck slowly drove down the street, carrying Sam and his boxers away from years of stress and rules. The sun shone brightly, and for the first time in a long time, Sam felt free. He knew that peace was finally possible. The neighborhood was behind him, and the road ahead was open. For Sam, this was more than just a move. It was a victory against unnecessary rules and a reminder that honesty and calmness always win in the end. Karen had learned a lesson too. Power comes with limits, and sometimes, those limits are shown in unexpected ways. Sam looked at the road ahead, a smile on his face. This was the beginning of a new chapter, one without endless complaints and without fear of the next HOA meeting. Today, the neighborhood had learned that fairness and truth matter more than titles or rules, and Sam knew as he drove toward his new life that this time, he would never look back. After leaving the neighborhood behind, Sam drove quietly down the highway. The moving truck rumbled steadily beneath him, carrying years of memories and a new life waiting to begin. For the first time in months, Sam felt calm. The arguments with Karen, the constant complaints from neighbors, and the endless inspections of the HOA were gone. He was finally free. He glanced at his son, Luke, who rode beside him. Luke, even in uniform, had a relaxed air. He had handled the confrontation perfectly, with calmness and authority. Sam felt proud. His son had always been fair and responsible, and today he had proved it again. Thanks for coming, Luke, Sam said. I did not want this to get messy, but you made it simple. Luke smiled. It is what I am here for, Dad. You follow the law and the rules, and you do the right thing. That is enough. Others should do the same. Sam nodded, appreciating his son's words. The road ahead looked long, but it felt bright. The countryside where he had bought a small farm was only a few hours away. Fresh air, open space, and peace awaited him. He had imagined this day for years, but reality felt even better than his dreams. As they drove, the landscape changed. The tall buildings and busy streets of the city gave way to rolling hills and green fields. Small towns passed by, their streets quiet and calm. Sam felt a growing excitement. Finally, he would plant his garden, fix up his new house, and live without rules that made no sense. When they arrived at the property, Sam's eyes widened. The small house sat at the edge of a field, surrounded by trees and wildflowers. The air smelled fresh, filled with the scent of pine and grass. It was exactly what he had imagined. The moving truck rolled up the long driveway, and Sam could not help but smile. I think we did it, Sam said. This is going to be home. Luke nodded. It is beautiful, and the best part is you can make your own rules here. No HOA, no complaints. They spent the next few hours unloading the truck. Boxes were carried into the house. Furniture was set in place, and Sam even took time to step outside and admire the view. The house was small but comfortable, with windows that looked out over the fields. Birds chirped in the trees, and a gentle breeze made the leaves dance. By late afternoon, most of the boxes were inside. Sam sat on the porch for a moment, letting the quiet surround him. He had waited for this for so long, and now it was real. The sun began to set, painting the sky in orange and pink shades. He felt peace he had never known before. Suddenly Luke stood up and looked down the driveway. Dad, we have visitors. Sam turned and saw 2 cars slowly approaching. At first he thought it might be neighbors from the nearby town, curious about the new house. But as the cars got closer, he saw something unexpected. One of the vehicles belonged to the sheriff's department. Luke raised an eyebrow. That is unusual. I do not think anyone called for help here. Sam frowned. I did not either. Let us see what is happening. As the cars pulled up, 2 officers stepped out. One of them was a young woman, her uniform neat and her expression serious but friendly. The other was a middle-aged man, tall and calm, who nodded politely at Sam. Hello, sir, the woman said. Are you Sam? Yes, Sam replied. I am. Can I help you? I am Officer Harris, and this is Deputy Collins, she said. We are here because someone reported a possible problem at this property. Are you aware of any issues? Sam shook his head. No, nothing at all. I just moved in. Why would someone report a problem? Deputy Collins looked at Luke and Sam, then nodded. It seems like this might be connected to your recent situation with your previous HOA. Sam's eyes narrowed. You mean Karen? Harris nodded. We received a report from a concerned citizen that there was some kind of dispute at your old address. They mentioned you may have moved without permission and asked us to check if everything was safe. Luke chuckled lightly. That sounds like her. She has been very strict in the past. Nothing here is her business now. Sam smiled. You are correct. This is my property. There is no HOA, no complaints, no rules other than the law. Everything is fine. Harris looked around the property and saw the boxes and furniture. Yes, it looks peaceful and orderly. We just wanted to make sure there were no emergencies. You understand we have to respond to every call? Sam nodded. I understand completely. Thank you for checking. Everything is fine. The officers gave a polite nod and left. Sam and Luke watched as the vehicles drove away. That was strange, Sam said. I did not expect anyone to follow up on that, especially out here in the country. Luke laughed. Karen never gives up. Dad, she might try anything to keep control. But out here, she cannot interfere. This is your place. Sam felt a sense of relief. For the first time, he was confident that Karen could not reach him. He could finally live without constant arguments or threats. As evening fell, Sam and Luke finished arranging the house. The last boxes were unpacked, and the furniture was in place. Sam opened a window and let the cool night air flow inside. He could hear the crickets singing and the wind rustling through the trees. This is perfect, Sam said softly. This is exactly what I needed. Luke smiled. You earned it, Dad. You stayed calm and fair, and now you get your reward. No one can take it away from you. Sam felt grateful. He looked at his son and said, I am proud of you, Luke. You handled everything today with wisdom and patience. I could not have done it without your support. Luke placed a hand on his father's shoulder. You taught me to do the right thing. I only followed your example. And now, we can enjoy peace together. They sat quietly on the porch, watching the stars appear in the night sky. The air was cool, the fields stretched out in front of them, and the house finally felt like home as they prepared for bed. Sam thought about the challenges he had faced with the HOA, Karen's constant control. The complaints from neighbors and the tension in his old neighborhood had weighed heavily on him. But now, all that stress was gone. He was free to live life on his own terms. Little did Sam know, though, that Karen was not finished. Even though he had moved far away, she had a way of finding people. She could be persistent and creative when she wanted to be. But for now, Sam pushed that thought away. He'd earned this day. He had his new home, his peace, and his son by his side. The night was quiet, and everything seemed calm. He finally felt safe. The next morning, Sam woke early. He looked outside at the fields and smiled. Today would be a day for settling in, planting his small garden, and enjoying the freedom he had fought so hard to achieve. Luke came down for breakfast, coffee in hand, ready to start unpacking more boxes. He asked. Sam nodded. Yes, but first, let us enjoy this morning. The air is fresh, and there is no one here to complain. They sat outside together, drinking coffee and listening to the sounds of nature. Birds sang, the wind moved through the trees, and the world felt quiet and safe. Sam felt content. This was the beginning of a new chapter. Karen and her rules could no longer reach him. He had won the first battle, and now he would enjoy the victory he had worked for. And for Sam, this home, this land, and this freedom were priceless. The next few days were peaceful for Sam and Luke. They unpacked boxes, arranged furniture, and even started planting a small garden near the edge of the property. Fresh soil, seeds, and sunlight created a sense of accomplishment and freedom that Sam had never felt before. The air was clear, the sky was wide, and life moved at a slower, calmer pace. Sam woke early every morning, enjoying the sound of birds singing and the gentle rustle of leaves in the wind. He sipped his coffee on the porch and smiled at the sight of the field stretching beyond his house. Luke often joined him, and together they planned what would come next. This is amazing, Dad, Luke said one morning, leaning on the porch railing. We can finally live without constant complaints. No one can tell us what to do. Sam nodded, smiling. I never thought I would feel so free. It is like a weight has been lifted off my shoulders. They spent the mornings planting flowers, vegetables, and even a few small fruit trees. Sam enjoyed the physical work, feeling connected to the land. He thought about how long it had been since he could do something without worrying about someone monitoring him. But even in this peaceful place, Sam could not completely ignore the past. He knew Karen had a way of following people. She had been determined to control everyone in the neighborhood, and he was sure she would not accept that he had escaped her reach. He did not have to wait long to see if he was right. On the fourth day, while Sam was digging a small hole for a young tree, Luke noticed a car slowly approaching the driveway. It was unfamiliar, and something about the driver seemed off. Dad, someone is coming, Luke said quietly. Sam wiped sweat from his forehead and turned to see the car pull up. To his surprise, it was Karen. She stepped out of the car with her usual determined expression, holding her clipboard tightly in her hand. Karen, Sam said calmly. I did not expect to see you here. Karen's lips pressed together, and she looked around the property. I had to see it for myself. You think you can just leave and live somewhere without rules? You cannot escape responsibility that easily, Sam sighed. Karen, I do not want trouble. This is my home now. You do not have authority here. Karen's eyes narrowed. Authority does not matter. I am the HOA president. I can still make sure you do not forget your obligations. Luke stepped forward, his presence calm but firm. Ma'am, this property is outside the HOA's jurisdiction. Your rules do not apply here. Karen looked at Luke, a little hesitant. You are his son. That does not change anything. He still must obey. Luke shook his head. No, ma'am. You cannot enforce HOA rules outside your neighborhood. My father is free to live here as he chooses. Sam smiled faintly. Karen, I understand you are used to control, but here there is no one to control. Please understand that I have paid all fees, followed all rules, and moved away. I am not breaking any laws. I am only living my life. Karen's face grew red with frustration. She looked around the property, clearly struggling to find something wrong. The house was neat, the garden well kept, and nothing appeared to violate any rules she could enforce. I can still report this, Karen said, trying to sound confident. I can make sure you face consequences for leaving without proper notice. Luke shook his head. You cannot, ma'am. You already called law enforcement falsely before. If you attempt to report something here, it could be considered harassment or filing a false complaint. Karen froze slightly. She did not expect him to respond so quickly. Her mind raced, trying to think of a way to regain control. But Sam, who remained calm, standing beside Luke with an air of quiet confidence that made her hesitate. You think you can intimidate us, Sam said. You cannot. This is my home now, and I will not allow conflict. I just want peace. Karen's hands tightened around her clipboard. I am only doing my duty. You cannot just escape. Luke spoke gently but firmly. Your duty does not extend beyond your neighborhood. This is reality, ma'am. You must accept it. Karen hesitated, realizing that her usual tactics would not work here. She could not find him. She could not stop him from planting trees, and she could not call the sheriff without consequence. Sam had created a boundary she could not cross. For a moment, Karen looked like she might turn and leave. Then she took a deep breath and said, I cannot believe this. You have escaped so easily. I will not accept this. Sam smiled. Karen, this is not about acceptance. It is about fact. You do not have authority here, and I am free. Please leave and go back to your neighborhood. Karen's face softened slightly. She looked around the property again, clearly impressed despite herself. The garden, the open field, and the peaceful house were exactly what Sam had promised himself. You have made this place well kept, she said slowly. It is different from the neighborhood. You seem happy here. Sam nodded. I am. This is my home. It is simple, quiet, and peaceful. That is all I wanted. Karen looked down, then finally nodded. I see I cannot stop this, but I will not forget. You may have won today, but control is something I value. I will find a way to respond if I must. Sam did not respond. He knew Karen's persistence could last, but he also knew that this land was his, and there was nothing she could do. Luke stayed close, silently assuring him that everything would be safe. Karen finally turned and walked back to her car. She paused before getting in and glanced once more at the house. Sam met her gaze calm and unshakable. You may have your peace now, Karen said quietly, but do not think it will last forever. With that, she drove away, leaving Sam and Luke standing on the driveway. Luke shook his head. She really never gives up, does she? Sam smiled faintly. No, she does not, but she cannot take this from me. This place, this life, is ours now, and nothing she can do will change that. The two men went inside and continued their work. The house was now fully organized, and Sam felt a sense of accomplishment unlike anything he had experienced before. The small garden flourished under his care, and the house truly felt like home. That evening, as the sun set over the fields, Sam and Luke sat on the porch. The air was cool, the sky painted in shades of orange and purple. The house stood quietly behind them, a symbol of freedom and new beginnings. I think this is just the start, Sam said. We have a lot to enjoy and many plans ahead. Luke nodded. Yes, Dad, this is the life you wanted, and you earned it. No one can take it from you. Sam felt a sense of peace he had never known before. Karen's threats could not reach him here. The past could no longer control his life. He had created a home that was free, simple, and full of opportunity. For now, he could focus on the things that mattered: family, nature, and the freedom to live his life on his terms. The future looked bright, and for the first time in years, Sam truly felt safe and happy. And although Karen might try again, Sam knew that his calmness, patience, and sense of fairness would always protect him. No matter what challenges came, this home was his sanctuary. Days passed, and Sam settled more into his new life. The garden was thriving, the house was fully arranged, and the quiet countryside offered a sense of freedom he had never known. Luke helped him every day, carrying boxes, planting trees, and making small repairs around the house. The two shared stories, laughed together, and enjoyed the peaceful life that had been impossible in their old neighborhood. Sam thought that finally, After years of stress and endless disputes, he had escaped the constant surveillance of Karen and the HOA. But one morning, as the sun rose over the fields, Luke noticed a car approaching the driveway again. "Dad, I think we have visitors," Luke said, his hand shielding his eyes from the bright sunlight. Sam wiped his hands on his pants and looked up. To his surprise, it was Karen once more. Her car slowly moved along the long driveway, her face set in determination. She held a folder tightly under her arm, and her expression was firm. "Karen," Sam said calmly, "what brings you here now?" Karen stepped out of her car with an air of confidence. "I came to make sure you understand that leaving the neighborhood does not erase your responsibilities. You cannot escape so easily." Luke moved slightly in front of Sam, protective but calm. "Ma'am, this property is outside your authority. Your rules do not apply here." Karen's eyes narrowed, and she looked directly at Sam. "You think you are free, but rules must be followed. You cannot just walk away from obligations." Sam smiled faintly. "Karen, I have already fulfilled all my obligations. I have paid the fees, followed the rules, and moved away. This is my property now, and you cannot control me here." Karen's lips pressed tightly together. "I can still report this. I can make sure you face consequences for ignoring the HOA." Luke shook his head. "Ma'am, any false claim could have serious consequences for you. You have already made one false report. If you try again, it may be considered harassment." Karen hesitated, clearly frustrated by his calm response. She was used to people panicking or arguing, but not standing firm with logic and facts. "I am only doing my duty," Karen said sharply. "You cannot escape responsibility. You may think you are safe, but I will find a way." Sam folded his arms. "Karen, I am asking you one last time to leave. This is my home, and I will not tolerate conflict. You cannot stop me from living here." Karen's eyes darted around the property, looking for anything she could use to justify her complaints. She inspected the garden, the house, and even the driveway. Everything was neat, orderly, and perfectly legal. Her frustration grew as she realized there was nothing she could claim. Luke stepped closer. "Ma'am, you are here on private property without permission. You need to leave. This is trespassing if you do not depart." Karen paused, clearly taken aback. She had never been confronted like this before. Normally, her authority intimidated people. Here, it was useless. Sam took a deep breath. "Karen, you are seeing this now. You cannot intimidate me. You cannot threaten me. You have no authority here. Please go home and let us live in peace." Karen's expression softened slightly. She seemed to realize that Sam's calmness and firm stance were unshakable. For a moment, she looked unsure of herself, a feeling she had rarely experienced. "You think you have won," Karen said slowly. "But one day, you will realize that rules exist for a reason. You cannot escape them forever." Sam smiled gently. "I understand rules exist. I followed them. But your authority ends where the law ends. This is my home, my property, and my life. You cannot change that." Karen looked around, frustrated, then finally stepped back. She got into her car without another word. Sam and Luke watched as she drove away, realizing that her persistence could be exhausting, but it could no longer control them. After Karen left, Sam and Luke went inside to rest. Sam felt proud that he had handled the situation with calmness and logic. He realized that Karen's threats would never succeed as long as he remained composed and knowledgeable about his rights. That evening, Sam sat on the porch, looking at the setting sun. The fields glowed orange and gold, the wind whispered gently through the trees, and the garden smelled of fresh soil and flowers. He felt a sense of accomplishment he had never known before. Luke joined him with a cup of tea. "Dad, she will probably try again. Karen never gives up, but this time, we are ready for her." Sam nodded. "Yes, I have learned that calmness and knowledge are stronger than threats. She cannot win against that." Luke smiled. "I have an idea. If she returns, we can handle it in a way that teaches her a lesson without creating conflict. We can be clever." Sam raised an eyebrow. "Clever how?" Luke leaned closer. "We make sure she cannot interfere anymore. If she comes back, we document everything. We record interactions, keep evidence, and remain calm. Then we use the law to show that she cannot act unfairly. She will learn that persistence does not equal authority here." Sam nodded slowly, impressed. "That is smart. She will not expect that. She thinks rules alone are enough, but she forgets that facts and fairness matter more." The next few days were peaceful. Sam continued working on his garden, repairing the house, and enjoying his freedom. He felt a sense of satisfaction every time he stepped outside and looked at the open fields. Life was simple and calm, and he cherished every moment. One morning, Luke noticed movement at the edge of the property. "Dad, someone is watching us," he said quietly. Sam looked and saw Karen again, this time standing near the edge of the road. She had binoculars and seemed determined to observe their every move. Luke shook his head. "She really never stops. But now we are ready. She cannot intimidate us." Sam smiled. "Yes, this time, we will show her that persistence does not equal control. We will handle this carefully and fairly." That day they worked together to document everything. They recorded the garden, the house, and even took notes of the times Karen appeared near the property. They remained calm and polite, showing that no matter what she tried, they were not afraid and were acting lawfully. When Karen approached that evening, she was surprised to see Sam and Luke standing together with evidence of everything. "Dad, remember our plan?" Luke whispered. Sam nodded. He stepped forward calmly. "Karen, I understand you are concerned, but you have no authority here. We are documenting everything to make sure there is no misunderstanding. Please leave the property and allow us to live in peace." Karen's face turned red with frustration. She opened her mouth, but Sam's calm tone and Luke's presence made her pause. She realized that threats would no longer work. Evidence, fairness, and patience had replaced fear, and she could not win. For the first time, Karen seemed unsure. Her confidence weakened, and she stepped back. Sam remained calm, polite, and firm. "Karen, please leave now," Sam said. "This is your chance to do the right thing and respect boundaries." Karen finally nodded, defeated. She left without another word, understanding that persistence alone could not give her power over someone who acted fairly, calmly, and lawfully. As she drove away, Sam and Luke looked at each other and smiled. Their clever plan had worked, peace had returned, and Karen's persistence could no longer interfere with their life. That evening, Sam walked through the garden, touching the soil and admiring the young plants. He realized that freedom was more than escaping rules. It was about courage, calmness, and wisdom, and he had found all of that here, in this new home. Luke joined him, placing a hand on his shoulder. "We did it, Dad. This is truly our place now. No one can take it away." Sam smiled, looking at the sunset. "Yes, Luke, this is our home, our freedom, and our life. We have won in every way that matters." The wind rustled through the trees, carrying a sense of peace that had been impossible in the old neighborhood. Sam knew that no matter what challenges came next, they could face them with calmness, fairness, and courage, and with that, he felt ready to enjoy every moment of the life he had worked so hard to build. The next morning, Sam woke early to the soft sounds of birds singing and the cool breeze flowing through his windows. The garden was filled with the fresh scent of soil and flowers, and the sunlight made the leaves of the young trees sparkle. For the first time in a long time, Sam felt completely at ease. Luke joined him on the porch, carrying a cup of coffee. "Dad, it feels good to wake up without worries," Luke said, smiling. "No HOA, no complaints, no conflicts." Sam nodded. "Yes, Luke, I never thought life could feel this calm. It is peaceful, and it is ours. Everything we worked for has led to this moment." As they sipped their coffee, Sam noticed movement at the edge of the property. At first, he thought it might be a deer or a bird, but then he saw a car approaching slowly. He tensed slightly. Could it be Karen returning again? Luke noticed his father's expression and placed a reassuring hand on his shoulder. "Don't worry, Dad, we are ready. Nothing can bother us now." The car stopped at the driveway, and to Sam's relief, it was not Karen. It was the mail carrier and a delivery driver. Sam laughed softly. "I suppose this is the kind of attention we like." Luke smiled. "Yes, mail and packages are fine. Those are welcome visitors." That day, Sam worked in the garden, planting more vegetables and flowers, while Luke repaired the small fence that bordered the property. They talked about the future, the life they wanted, and the peace they had earned. Sam realized that freedom was more than just leaving the HOA. It was living in a place where he could choose what to do, and where courage and calmness protected him from unfair challenges. In the afternoon, as the sun warmed the house, Sam and Luke heard a car on the driveway. This time it was Karen. She stepped out of her car with a serious expression, holding another folder. Sam sighed but remained calm. Luke stood beside him, ready to handle the situation. Karen walked toward them. "Sam, I need to speak with you. You cannot just ignore the rules. You may think you are safe, but I am determined." Sam spoke calmly. "Karen, I have already explained. This is my property. Your HOA rules do not apply here. We cannot argue endlessly, and I do not want conflict." Luke added, "Ma'am, we have documented everything. If you try to interfere or make false claims again, there will be consequences. This is private property, and we are prepared to protect it." Karen hesitated, realizing that her usual threats and tactics would not work. Sam's calmness in the presence of Luke, along with the careful documentation of everything, made her feel powerless. "You are very confident," Karen said slowly. "I see that you are prepared, and perhaps I cannot change that. But I cannot leave without making my point." Sam smiled gently. "Karen, we are not trying to upset you. We are only living our life peacefully. You cannot control that, and you cannot force conflict. Please accept it." Karen looked at the house, the garden, and the open fields. Everything was neat, organized, and legal. She could find nothing to report, nothing to threaten, and nothing to use against Sam. Her persistence had finally met its limits. Luke spoke firmly. "Ma'am, this is your opportunity to leave peacefully. We have shown respect and calmness, and we have followed the law. You must do the same. There is no reason to stay." Karen's shoulders dropped slightly. She realized that continuing this confrontation would only harm her own credibility. She looked at Sam and Luke, then nodded. "Very well. I see that I cannot interfere. You have your home and your peace. I will leave and not return." Sam felt a sense of relief. "Thank you, Karen. That is all we ask." Please understand that we respect the rules where they apply. But here, this is our home, and our freedom matters." Karen paused, as if considering her next words. Then she finally said, "I may not agree with everything, but I understand. I will go now. This is your victory today." With that, Karen returned to her car and drove away, leaving Sam and Luke standing on the porch. The air felt lighter, and the wind seemed to carry a sense of victory. Luke turned to Sam. "Dad, she finally understands that persistence alone cannot control someone who acts calmly and fairly. You have earned this completely." Sam smiled. "Yes, Luke, and more than that, I feel at peace. We have worked hard, stayed calm, and now we can truly enjoy our life here." That evening, as the sun set behind the hills, Sam and Luke sat on the porch, enjoying the quiet and the beauty of their property. The garden was full of life. The trees swayed gently, and the air was calm. Sam felt a sense of accomplishment and relief. He had faced challenges, stayed fair, and now enjoyed the freedom he had worked for. Over the next few days, Sam and Luke focused on building their new life. They expanded the garden, repaired the small barn, and even planned a small area for a vegetable market so Sam could share his fresh produce with nearby neighbors. The work kept them busy and happy, and the peace of the countryside brought a sense of calm that Sam had never known in the city. One afternoon, Sam received a letter in the mail. It was from the old neighborhood signed by the new HOA president who had replaced Karen. The letter congratulated him on completing all obligations and confirmed that there were no further actions required. Sam felt a wave of satisfaction. The final confirmation meant that every obstacle had been overcome. Luke smiled as he read the letter aloud. "Dad, this is the last step. You are completely free. Nothing can challenge you anymore." Sam folded the letter and placed it in a drawer. "Yes, Luke, this is complete. The past is behind us, and the future is wide open. We can live as we choose, without fear or stress." That evening, as the sky turned purple and stars appeared one by one, Sam looked at the horizon. The fields stretched endlessly, the house stood quietly, and the air smelled of fresh earth. He knew that he had won not only a home but a life of freedom, fairness, and peace. Luke joined him on the porch, smiling at the beauty of the night. "Dad, this is our life now. We did it together, and we can enjoy it every day." Sam nodded. "Yes, Luke, we faced challenges, stayed calm, and acted fairly. That is what brought us here. This is our victory, and it will last." As the stars twinkled above, Sam realized that true freedom was not only about escaping rules. It was about courage, patience, and wisdom. By staying calm, following the law, and acting fairly, he had created a life that could not be challenged. Karen's threats could no longer disturb them. Her persistence had met the limits of reality, and peace had finally arrived. Over the next weeks, Sam and Luke continued their new routine. They enjoyed gardening, repairing, cooking together, and even inviting friendly neighbors for small gatherings. Every moment was filled with the calm and satisfaction of a life earned through patience, courage, and fairness. And as they sat together on the porch one evening, watching the sun set and the stars appear, Sam knew that the battles he had faced had been worth it. Every challenge had taught him strength, patience, and the power of calmness. Now, he had more than a house. He had freedom, peace, and a new life that could never be taken away. Finally, Sam whispered to Luke, "We did it. We built a home, a life, and a future that is ours. Nothing and no one can take this from us." Luke smiled. "Yes, Dad, this is just the beginning. We can enjoy it forever." The wind rustled through the trees, the stars sparkled above, and the house stood quietly, a symbol of victory, freedom, and a life earned through calm courage. For Sam, this was not just a new chapter. It was a life he had created, a life he had fought for, and a life he would cherish forever. Peace had finally arrived, and Sam knew that no challenges could ever shake the life he had earned with his son by his side.